Here we go. Welcome to the 2024 AFA Draft Recap. Going to take a look at where everybody went. Let's take a look. Let's jump right in. Leonard Taylor had played for the Rookie Showcase, and he goes number 1 overall to Detroit. Didn't think there was much question there. I know some people had a question mark whether that was going to happen, but with the first pick in the 2023 AFA Rookie Draft, Leonard Taylor III out of Miami, he goes to Detroit. Now, earlier in the week, Detroit had traded up. They had picks 7 and 8. They had acquired that pick from Columbus in the Will Fuller trade. They packaged those two and moved to number 1 and get arguably the best defensive player or even just player in the AFA draft, Leonard Taylor III, as you can see here. With the second pick, Sacramento took Gabe Hall. I'm going to flip the screen here so that we can take a look at Gabe Hall. Gabe Hall had a really good rookie showcase. I'm being joined on the line by Noah Grove from San Antonio. How are you doing, Noah?
Doing good, Commissioner. Thank you for calling.
Good. So I'm starting my recap here. Let me get through the third pick. The third pick is another D tackle. So 3 straight D tackles, and they get Fabian Lovett Sr. Out of Florida State. So a recap: Detroit trades number 7 and 8, goes to 1. Take Leonard Taylor III from Miami. Sacramento goes second. They take Gabe Hall from Baylor. And then the third straight D tackle off the board, London gets Fabian Lovett Sr. from Florida State. Noah, and I know you drafted later on at 17, but what did you think of those first 3 picks, and what was your mock draft for those first 3 picks?
If I'm being completely honest, I didn't even have Gabe Hall on my draft board. I thought that, D tackles like that, weak but good acceleration, are a dime a dozen. I think that Leonard Taylor III was definitely worthy of the first overall pick. I think Lovett will have more sacks than him, but I think that Leonard Taylor III will be good in run stopping and run support. If Detroit felt like that was where they needed players, then I say go for it. I don't really think there's too much of a difference between Lovett and Taylor. But I just thought that there was so many more talented defensive tackles on the board than Gabe Hall at 2.
And didn't you say in your mock draft you had Sam Hartman at Sacramento at 2?
I thought it was maybe a possibility. Sacramento has some money, but not necessarily the most. So I felt like maybe they felt that they could take a chance on Hartman, who had a really good rookie showcase, and go a little Salt Lake City route and go cheap on quarterback and see if you can build a good team around it.
Well, what would you say if I told you I think they're going to go back in on Landry Jones? And I don't know if I agree with that. I think Landry Jones, I'd see if there was other options and see if you could get Landry Jones back at a different price point.
Maybe. I don't know if I would mess too much with quarterbacks, especially a starting quarterback. I'm not sure if Landry Jones has gotten. He's kind of gotten the short end of the stick on some of the teams he's been on. Last year in Columbus, their best wide receivers got hurt, so he necessarily hasn't had teams to throw to. And I think he could be a starter with the right personnel around him. I'm not sure about the price tag though.
Yeah. Well, let me go through some more of these picks. You can add a sentence if you like. Number 4, Birmingham takes left tackle Garrett Greenfield, South Dakota State. My personal opinion, Garrett Greenfield was the best offensive lineman on the board, and Birmingham has to do a much better job of protecting Carson Strong because he'll be an RFA at the end of the year, and you have to determine whether you're keeping him or moving on, and he hasn't had protection.
Yeah, Carson Strong's on the hot seat this year.
Yeah. At number 5, San Diego goes Dwight McGlothern from Arkansas. I know, to me, the kid had a pick 6, but he was that was on a backup quarterback in the finals there, in the showcase final. He had a pick 6, but it was on a backup. Probably the best corner on the board, but 5 seemed a little early. San Diego does need help in the secondary.
I thought that was a good pick. I think Dwight McGlothern's going to be really good for them.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if he wasn't Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think that he'll have a lot of picks in that system.
Yeah. Number 6, Memphis jumps up and grabs Sam Hartman. I was a little surprised with this because Larry Martin always seems to be in love with Jacob Eason's arm. I know he did not come through last year like Larry had wanted, but Sam Hartman, I think he might have gotten visions of Cooper Rush. Remember when Cooper Rush was in Memphis and Memphis was good? So that Sam Hartman pick at number 6 was very surprising to me. I think I had him going, I don't know, like a defensive player or something. And but on my draft, well, anyway, so for him to go there, I thought was interesting.
Quarterbacks will always be taken higher than probably what they should. But I don't think that's a bad pick. I think that if you think it's the guy and it's a quarterback, you go for it. And no questions asked.
Yeah.
I think that we'll see how it pays off, but I like the pick.
Yeah. So then came back and Tulsa had those 2 picks where they had traded out of the number 1 spot. I thought that was interesting. They get Jackson Sermon and let's see, where's he at? Jackson Sermon and Bo Richter. Jackson Sermon, here he is, kid out of California. They take with the 7th pick, inside linebacker. They had John Bostic last year. He's getting up there in age. This might be them moving on. I don't know if they're planning on playing a 4-3 or 3-4, but they might be moving on from John Bostic here with this pick. And then they come right back and they get Bo Sermon, right outside linebacker, Air Force. Talented kid, can play the pass and the run, but I don't know if he's enough of a playmaker, in my opinion. What do you think of those 2 picks? And I'll say Tulsa, good for them. They made 2 solid picks here. And I think, young general manager Damon Jr. Is making some headwaves here with, at least through the draft, as he continues his development into an AFA general manager.
Personally, I think Tulsa won the trade. I think Tulsa got more value with Bo Richter and Jackson Sermon. I think that, especially with RFA kicking off yesterday, be that Detroit is scrambling to get a right outside linebacker, and their middle linebacker from last year just got a big bid. You won't be able to afford that player. Detroit could have had both of those guys, and at $400,000, I think that with their salary cap situation, they're going to be hurting, and those 2 extra bodies would have been great.
Yeah, good point there. At number 9, New York, earliest draft pick I've seen out of them in quite a while. They go with the kid out of Maryland, Bo Brady. I really like this kid. For me, if you're not drafting in the top 6 or 7, taking a safety, free or strong, in the first round is a good pick, because if you can get quality or value without spending a lot of money, and that's all, first round pick, I always like to, do secondary. So they pick up Bo Brady. What do you think of that pick out of Maryland?
I think it gives them the premier safety duo in that conference. I think that
Reed Blankenship.
Reed Blankenship and Bo Brady are going to be really good. Personally, I value coverage a little bit more. I thought Millard Bradford, who ended up going in the second round to Barcelona, which was, in my opinion, one of the steals of the draft. I probably would have taken him if I really needed a safety, but great pick from New York, regardless.
Yep. San Jose comes in at number 10. They take left guard Javion Cohen out of Miami. Portland followed that up with a corner, the second corner off the board. Virginia State corner Willie Drew. Number 12, Barcelona takes D-tackle Miles Murphy out of North Carolina. There's your fourth D-tackle. Anything you wanted to add on Cohen, Drew, or Murphy?
I mean, those are all picks in need for those teams. I thought those were three really solid picks by those teams. And I think Miles Murphy will surprise people.
I think he's going to be okay, too. He had a really good rookie showcase week. Orlando takes lefty end Eric Watts out of Connecticut at 13. He had a great week against the run. He had accumulated some TFL, so good pick out of him. Out of Orlando. Is that the kid that is known for jarring the ball loose?
I think that Orlando plays that 3-4. I think he'll fit really nicely in there.
Yeah, lefty end, right?
Correct.
Yeah, out of Connecticut. There he is. Yeah, he brings the hammer. Kid has some really good tackling ability. Might lack the experience and the awareness, but he seems like he's going to be a good kid moving forward. Then at number 14, Sacramento comes back with their second first-round pick. They add left outside linebacker Curtis Jacobs, who I think is a little undersized. I think he's more of a coverage guy than a run stuffer. And I actually had him going to pick in my mock draft going to Orlando with the pick before that because Orlando always plays that secondary or coverage defense. They'll give up the run all day, but they usually try to shut down the pass as much as possible. But Curtis Jacobs goes to Sacramento. So Buckley at that point had taken Gabe Hall, Curtis Jacobs. He will later, early in the second round, he'll take center Andrew Rame. And then he'll also in the second round get Josh Proctor, the free safety out of Ohio State, I believe it is. Yeah, Ohio State, free safety Josh Proctor. He gets him at 31. So Sacramento gets 4 in the first 31 picks, 3 of them defense and a center. What you think of that Curtis Jacobs pick and his draft through the first 31 picks?
Again, I thought the Gabe Hall pick was puzzling, but he's got 3 stars on the defensive side of the ball, and honestly, that's kind of tough to do, especially in one draft. And I think that now he can go spend some money on offense and be comfortable with who he's putting around Landry Jones.
Yeah, and that's Salt Lake City's going to be a little taken back this year, trimming fat off of their salary cap. So they'll still have Bajent, they'll still have Fournette, but if Salt Lake City takes a step back, and Portland is always competitive. I think you're going to see potentially Sacramento being back into the divisional race there, especially with 4 young players to build around for the next 3 years. So I'd like that. 15, Albuquerque takes Andrew Coker. This is the first reach pick for me, right tackle out of TCU. I'm pretty sure he needed right tackle, but I didn't see it with Andrew Coker. He allowed 3 sacks to Savion Jackson, who ends up going undrafted. So I'm a little worried about that pick, but Albuquerque stayed to their draft board. They always go O-line in the first round, and being at 15 in what might have been a weaker draft, Andrew Coker goes here. What was your opinion of Coker?
Athletic run blocker. I think that they'll get a lot of value out of him with the offense that they play, but the sacks allowed does worry me a bit.
Yeah, Mike White is the quarterback back there, so he's smart enough to see it coming, but this kid, it's going to be interesting when we take a look back in 3 years and see what this kid has done. Next, Frankfurt goes number 16. They go inside linebacker Aaron Casey from Indiana. Of course, Sermon's off the board. Reports out of there was that he was taking Casey over Sermon anyways, but he's a run stuffer. decent experience, but he's a good solid tackler, and he's got strength and acceleration. But I was a little bit surprised here, but again, you're starting to get to pick 16, and that's what happens.
Yeah, I think it's a guy that fits into their system well and will be productive for them.
Yeah, we get to pick 17, and you take Meion Williams out of Ohio State. Little used. He's never had over 600 yards combined in one season, so not sure how much he's going to be able to, be an every down back for you, but I'm sure with some money issues, that played a role in this.
Yeah, losing Coleman, we felt like we needed to go offense, especially in a year where we don't have a lot of cap room. I know that the offensive side of the ball is a lot weaker, but we just felt like we needed to draft offense in order to get the most value out of our picks. I think Mian will be fine. I think we'll go with some kind of committee this year. He's had a little bit of injury issues, so we don't want to, put too much of a heavy load on him. But I think that he's going to be really good for us, productive, and I'm hoping he proves the haters wrong.
Yeah. Right after that, Dublin goes 18. They go Gabriel Murphy, UCLA. It's funny about Murphy. He flies under the radar all week, and he gets 2 sacks in the showcase, and I believe they were both in the red zone. And he ends up going in the first round. This kid was the number one at the end of the NFL draft. He was the number one undrafted player according to NFL.com. For us at 247, I just don't know about that weight. We have other guys like Mata Afa, and I know Wyatt Ray has been able to get away with being undersized, but anything under 255 at right DN typically scares me. What do you think of Murphy?
Super fast. I think that one of the strengths that he'll bring to this team is that while he's not going to rip through an offensive lineman, he can play sideline to sideline, and he'll help them with a lot of run support. What's his tackle?
He's a solid tackler. He's not going to miss tackles. He's just not real strong.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine for them. I don't think he's going to put up double-digit sacks or anything, but he could put up double-digit TFLs and be a force for them in the run game.
Yeah. St. Louis comes back at 19. They take Daryl Simpson out of Tulsa. The kid, 335, 6'6". He's a giant, 93 strength. A little low on the awareness. They have to move on from Menelik Watson, I think, and this kid's going to be their choice. I thought this kid maxes out, or his ceiling is as a backup, but money issues might play a role in what St. Louis is doing here. Did you have any expectations on this kid?
Yeah, I thought he was a real solid run blocker. Rumor is that Cam Newton will not be returning to St. Louis. Maybe they go in a completely different direction this year. And if they're going to go, run first, I think that Simpson is a great way to get that off-season started.
Number 20, Hartford takes the first tight end off the board, Brevin Spawn-Ford out of Minnesota. Mark Myers liked this kid the best, was surprised that he dropped to him. I thought this was the best of the 3 tight ends that had been on the board. Balance, he can block, he can catch. Holker is more of a receiver. Hines is more of a blocker. I thought this kid I thought this was an excellent pick for Hartford. A lot of value in here at number 20, even though I would never take a tight end in the first round. But I think they'll be able to use him. Washington comes right back and goes Kendall Milton, tailback out of Georgia. Is that a sign that Kareem Hunt is not coming back to Washington?
For sure. I think they have a lot of money problems. Well, maybe not a lot, but enough where they can't re-sign Kareem Hunt. And I know Kareem Hunt just got offered a $21 million contract this weekend from Sacramento, so we'll see. I'm assuming he'll go to Sacramento.
Kendall Milton, though, lightly used, never been a number one. He's 225, 6'1", but he was never the top back in Georgia. And, of course, they get a lot of great backs in there, but he was never the top back. I think he had 10 starts career-wise. So underused, it'd be interesting to see if he can carry the load, and if so, how far, or see what Katie Bartol's decision process there. I always believe you have to take the first round pick automatically makes your 53. It's got to be a starter, especially for the rookie salary. Coming back, Hawaii takes left guard Matthew Jones out of Ohio State. I believe that was it was only the second Ohio State kid at that point. I really like this kid. He's typical Hawaii offensive line. He had a nice solid week. A little surprised he drops to here because he's a left guard, and that's a little hard to find. What do you think of that kid?
Great pick. Hawaii has a track record of putting good teams together, and this year should be no different.
Yeah. Louisville comes back at 23, and they take right tackle Gottlieb Ayedzi out of Maryland. I was really surprised with this pick because he had just traded for Martrez Ivy. And when I talked to McGugan after the draft, he admitted that he really wanted Matthew Jones. And when he was off the board, kind of went Ayedzi here. And he might have... if he had to do it over again, he might go in a different direction.
I mean, yeah, and that sucks, and that happens. Maybe there's a world in which one of those switches to left tackle and they let Himmelman walk. But we'll see what happens in the offseason.
Yeah, at number 24, Salt Lake City goes first non-rookie showcase. They go lefty end Anthony Goodlow out of Oklahoma State. What'd you think of that kid?
They're losing Melvin Ingram in free agency, so I thought that it was a good pick. I think they'll get a lot of value out of him. I don't think he'll put up double-digit sacks, but I think he'll be solid for them.
Yeah. Running through the second round real quick, Iyabi Okianoma, he goes to the toss at 25. I did not understand this pick whatsoever because they have Ziggy Ansah. This kid is a bit of a head case to begin with, and I know you have him as a generational talent, but he doesn't have the intangibles to go with it, and so I'm a little worried about that kid. I'm sure they're going to have to play one of them out of position over on the left side. What was your thought there?
I liked the pick at first, but after realizing that both him and Bonza played on the same side, I thought it was a little head-scratching, especially after the stellar season from Courtney Upshaw at lefty end.
Upshaw might be retired. I don't know if he's coming back or not.
He's on the RFA list.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, there you go.
So if anyone wants to sign him, he had 16 TFLs and 9 sacks last year. It's pretty good.
Iyabi, and look, Iyabi can cause trouble sitting on the sideline here, but as a second-round pick, he could also end up on the reserve squad. Iyabi, Sermon, and Richter. So Tulsa goes 3 defensive players there. Pretty interesting. 29, San Diego goes Frank Crum out of Wyoming. I really like this pick. This kid played really well. He should have gone in the first round. Memphis comes back, takes the second tight end off the board in Dallin Hawker out of Colorado State. I like both of those picks. Carlton Johnson goes to New York at pick 33, the kid out of Fresno State. Real fast. Might not have the complete coverage ability, but adds speed to New York secondary. At number 36, Barcelona takes Millard Bradford out of TCU. I know you like this pick. Tell me why.
Super athletic, coverage tendency player. I think that he'll pair really, really nicely with Nolan Turner in that secondary.
I think anybody would pair. I think Nolan Turner might make me look good too.
Maybe.
5'10", 191, Millard Bradford. Moving on, Barcelona comes back and gets a pick from Dublin. They take right tackle Jeremy Flax out of Kentucky. I know a lot of people were high on this kid. I don't know. I just really wasn't. Next pick, St. Louis takes Steel Chambers. That kid was a tackling machine at the rookie showcase. I like him. Interested to see what he does. He's a former Buckeye. At number 44, Hartford takes Keith Randall Jr. out of Illinois. What do you think of that pick?
Keith Randall Jr.
Yeah, the kid out Illinois,
Yeah, what position does he play?
D tackle.
Oh, well, clearly that shows how much I know about him. I had him as a, fringe D tackle too. He was on the board, but playing a 3-4, and he's more of like a speed D tackle two kind of guy, pass rusher, and that wasn't really something we were looking at.
Yeah. Um, Salt Lake City wraps up round two, taking Braden McGregor out of Michigan. That was a very interesting pick. I think that kid's going to be okay. We'll see. Um, Third round, I thought kind of started off a little slow. I know you took Stephen Jones out of Oregon with the first pick in the third round, and I'm assuming he's going to start for you. Dallas Gant goes to London out of Toledo at 51. Jason Johnson, Larry Martin is so excited about this pick at 54. He said he's a tackling machine. Kid might start out of Central Florida. Lita Trick Griffin goes to Hawaii. Days of wood failure are probably over with that pick. Dylan Johnson. Memphis comes back and takes Dylan Johnson out of UW with the 60th pick. That backfield also has Jalen Warren in it too. So it's going to be interesting to see what Memphis does. I'm sure they'll stay true to their form and run the ball all the time. 62, St. Louis takes Ethan Driscoll. Thought that was a very good pick. St. Louis comes back and takes at 66 Johnny Dixon out of Penn State. I like that kid. Tyreek Funderburk, he goes to Detroit at 68. Aneem Dankwa goes to Washington at 69 out of Howard. Mammoth guy. What did you think of that pick, and how? I thought there was a chance he might end up in San Antonio.
We had discussed taking him in the first round. We thought that he was perfect for our system. We want to start going a little bit more run heavy. Even with Matt Barkley on the team, we want to have a more balanced approach. And we thought that Dankwa was, in our eyes, a top right tackle. Massive run blocker, super fast, super strong. He does lack a little bit of intangibles, but when your job is just to go out and maul the person in front of you, we didn't really think that mattered too much.
Yeah.
I thought that Barcelona was going to take him instead of Flax. I thought that Flax lacked a lot of athleticism, and that was something that we thought was a red flag in the run game.
Yeah. So in the next pick, you take wide receiver Mason Tipton out of Yale. I know you'd been following him around all rookie week. If Dankwa was still there, were you going to take Tipton?
We were going to go Dankwa.
Were you? So Dankwa comes off the board and you go Mason Tipton.
Correct.
Yeah. With the 71st pick right after that, Beanie Bishop Jr. goes from West Virginia. I had Louisville taking him in my first round of the mock draft, so he still gets him, but he gets him at the end of the third round. Some of the notable draft picks in the fourth round. Nelson Caesar, the right DN out of Houston. I thought that kid, he looked good all week. Jaden Janke, the wide receiver out of South Dakota State, goes to San Diego. Memphis gets Isaiah Williams from Illinois. Nice little slot receiver, very smart, excellent hands. I love that pick in the fourth round. Columbus gets lefty and Andre Carter. He'll have two Andre Carters playing on that team. What do you think of Andre Carter?
I think that it helps him out a lot. I think that Andre Carter will help Andre Carter the second out more than what people think. Big presence. I think he's going to push the offensive line back towards the other side of the ball. I think Andre Carter the second will come back and have almost as good of a season as he did last year.
Yeah. New York at 81 and 82, they take Frank Gore Jr., who every time I saw him on rookie week, he was headed off the field with some kind of injury. But then they came right back and took Xavier Weaver out of Colorado State. Real pencil thin, 6'1", like 179 or something. But the kid made a lot of plays. I'm interested to see how he's going to do. Austin Reed out of Western Kentucky goes number 88 to Frankfurt. In the fifth round, I thought there was a couple of players that were interesting. That Damani Richardson, free safety, goes to London. That kid might start. In the fifth round, he gets him.
He might. I didn't really have him too much on my radar, but I mean, like we've said before, we're not sure how much safety matters, to be honest.
Yeah. Memphis at 102 takes Blake Watson from Memphis. He was dynamite in the rookie showcase. I would have taken him over Frank Gore Jr. 20 picks earlier. Memphis gets two running
I like
backs.
the Frank Gore Jr. pick. I think him and Weaver are going to be solid, like
Okay.
number 2 playmakers for New York.
Yeah. Columbus then came back and took Akeem Dent. I think that kid has a chance to start. And the best value pick of outside the first round for me was at 109. Tavian Robinson was everywhere in the rookie showcase game, and he had some backup quarterback throwing to him. I can't remember if it was Carter Bradley, but one of the backups came in, and Tavian Robinson had like 8 catches, 165 yards, and 2 touchdowns or something. This kid, I think he is going to be the true sleeper of this draft.
That is, if he gets playing time.
Yeah, well, we'll see if he impresses Sheldon enough to get on the field. George Holani, you picked him up at 113. What do you think of him?
We like his speed. Has enough break tackle to make things happen if he can get out in open space with a corner one-on-one. We think that he could compete for a TB2 spot, but we'll have to see who we bring in free agency.
I tell you another kid I really liked, and this kid was at the rookie showcase, number 119, second to last pick, Jaquan Shepard out of University of Maryland, the corner who goes to Louisville with Pat McGugan. I really liked that pick. I mean, that seemed like tremendous value at 119.
That was a guy we had looking at in the undrafted rookie phase.
Yeah, amazing. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up from here. Thank you for your time. A lot of good stuff on here. Good luck to everybody. For such a weak draft, I thought it was definitely interesting and fun.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Coach.
All right, you have a great day. Thanks again. Good luck to the San Antonio Scorpions moving forward.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. So that was Noah Grove from San Antonio. He definitely had an interesting draft as well. But we'll see when we look back at this, 3, 4, 5 years from now, what does it look like? Who is the sleepers, and who ends up being Rookie of the Year? I think we're going to have a lot of fun looking back at this and coming on the heels of last year's draft where you had Pace and Fisher and Bass and Bajan and Bryce Ford Wheaton. I mean, that was a hell of a draft, and they're not all going to be like that. And so getting steals in the rookie draft, some of the guys we talked about after round 1, that's when you win it, because you don't have to worry about that kid somewhere down the line, or that position, because you got this kid down the line. So very interesting stuff. Thanks for tuning in and listening to me talk about the rookies. Have a great day and good luck.